But a little bit about myself. So I live in Pennsylvania, grew up in Pennsylvania, but I've been hunting out west ever since I was 12. Actually, the way my birthday worked out and hunting seasons work out, I turned 12 in Pennsylvania, and actually the first big game animal I killed was an antelope in Wyoming, and then subsequently after that a mule deer on the same trip. So the first real hunting experience I've been on was western backcountry hunting with my family. So I go out somewhere out west every year, whether it's mule deer and antelope or elk, or I've been up in Canada and hunted moose and caribou as well. So pretty broad range of where I hunt. Eric, I've never been down south where you are. Mostly hunted Colorado, Wyoming, Montana, those areas. Arizona's pretty foreign to me, but eventually I plan to get down there. I know there's some really awesome opportunities down there for sure. But in any event, yeah, I've been hunting mule deer pretty much my whole hunting career, and every time I've gone mule deer hunting, I've killed a mule deer. So track record's pretty good. So the things I want to talk about today, in regards to how I feel my success is laid out, is that it really comes down to three things, and a lot of people don't really understand it until they actually go on their first hunting trip in a new place that they've never been to. And those three things that it really comes down to, whether you know a whole bunch about mule deer themselves or not, these three, if you can become an expert in hunting in these three things, you're going to find success. And that's really what I want to talk about in relation to backcountry hunting, because it's a whole different experience if it's something you're not used to, if you only gone whitetail hunting, on your farm or whatever. So mental abilities, physical abilities, technical abilities. And when I talk about mental abilities, it's almost like that song from Gary Allan, Get Off on the Pain. Like, you really have to be okay with, like, some of these hunting trips are just brutal on my body, but I go far enough and hard enough and deep enough that I always find mule deer. And, you almost have to enjoy the pain, when it comes to these things. So one of the most important aspects of this in general, and it also ties into your physical abilities and technical abilities, is, how you can handle yourself in situations that you're not used to. So for example, you're going to be more easily able to talk yourself out of, going over the next ridge if, you're not in good shape, or you're more likely to head back to camp early before it gets dark out if you don't like walking in the dark or you're afraid of the dark. It's not really being afraid of things. It's mostly a subconscious effort, from what I've seen, is like, you wake up early in the morning and it's raining or it's snowing and you're tired and you feel miserable. Oh, let's go out to breakfast, and let the snow die down before we go out hunting. The mule deer don't care what the weather's like. They're going to be out there, and the way you hunt mule deer, there's no best or worst time of day. What I've found, I've killed mule deer at all times of day, dead in the afternoon, early in the morning, in the evening. Like there's no optimal time from what I've seen to kill a mule deer. So if it's legal hunting hours, you need to be out there hunting mule deer. And what I've seen with taking other people out is, a lot of the times they're finding excuses to go back to camp, or, get up late, or go back to camp early, or go back to their hotel, or, get a hotel for a night to, take a shower instead of staying out, however many miles back. So this is probably the most important aspect of, you know, getting yourself prepared to hunt in the backcountry. If you're not comfortable with being wet or being cold, you know, or even, you know, to Eric's point, being super hot, you know, you have to learn to get past that. So like, for example, if you're out doing yard work or something and it starts raining, most people, they go inside and wait for the rain to stop, or they'll say they'll finish it another day. That's what you're, if that's your mentality in your normal life, that's the first thing that you're going to think of when you're out on a hunting trip. And the only thing you can go back to is your tent, which is not going to be super warm anyways, right? So, you know, the next time that happens, stay out there and finish the job you're doing. Or, you know, if you're out on a hike or something, it starts raining, instead of turning around, finish whatever you're doing. And the more you train your head to be, you know, it's normal to be out in the rain, like it's not a big deal, or it's normal to be out in the snow, or it's normal to be out in the cold or in the heat, you know, the more you're going to feel comfortable in those uncomfortable situations. And it really comes down to that, in my opinion, is, you know, training yourself to, you know, feel okay in these situations that you're trained by normal life for it not to be okay. If you don't like being in the dark and not being afraid of the dark or whatever it is, if you're uncomfortable walking around in the dark, start going for walks at night, you know, or go hiking at night or early in the morning when it is dark, and just get yourself okay with that stuff. Because when you're mule deer hunting, every hour needs to be dedicated to trying finding these things and killing these things. And you'll see in a couple other slides how hard they can be to actually find. So, you know, another thing too to think about, the longer you're out there. So if you're planning to be there for 7 days or 10 days or 5 days, whatever, the longer you're out there, the more the harder it is going to be, the harder it's going to be for you to focus on staying out there and getting the job done. So after day, like you might be all good to go day 1 and 2, and on day 3, you've already walked 30 miles, you know, it's 20 degrees in the morning, 80 degrees in the afternoon, you're sunburned, you're chafing or whatever it is. Oh, day 3, oh, we're just going to go back and stay at a hotel tonight because, you know, we need to take a shower and, you know, just relax. You know, that is wasting time that you can dedicate to hunting these things. And most of the people that I've taken out that haven't done this before, one of these mental games is what gets them out of killing something. So doing everything you can to focus and actually dedicate all the time available to pursuing this animal is, at the end of the day, what's gonna get you that kill on the ground. Any questions on this? And we could talk about things that I do, you know, that like for example, it was like 2 weeks ago, I was sitting out by the fire with my dogs and I started petting my dog and she was all wet. And then I realized it was like drizzling the entire time. Like it's to the point where it won't even faze you, that like different weather conditions, like you're going to be out there because you want to be out there and you want to hunt, and that other stuff doesn't matter. So the next thing that you really need to be prepared for are your physical abilities. And I want to be perfectly clear, this has nothing to do with going to the gym and bodybuilding that social media is shoving down everybody's throats. From what I've seen, at least recently, like the bodybuilder physique is not ideal for the hunter, or the focus on, you know, muscular strength essentially. It actually can hurt you, and I've seen it. I've got a friend who I mean, he spends a lot of time in the gym. He's got like no body fat whatsoever. You know, that's all he does. And at the end of each day, he is in so much more pain than I am from hiking around and, you know, being in uncomfortable positions, because essentially what you're most likely always going to be in a calorie deficit. And if you don't have any fat for your body to use to make up for that deficit, it's going to go after your muscle. So when your body starts using your muscle for energy, it's going to cause more pain than if, you know, you had a layer of fat there for your body to use when you're in a calorie deficit. I'm not saying like being fat is the ideal condition, but, you know, having fat on your body is actually a little more helpful than having no fat on your body, if that makes sense. So, I mean, for example, like my dad and two uncles that I go mule deer hunting with all the time, they get mule deer, and they get big mule deer almost every single time we go, and they are way overweight. My dad's 5'6" and he's like 280 pounds, and he hobbles himself out there and kills a mule deer. And the reason being is you're not in any kind of race. CrossFit makes no sense for this. You need to have the ability to walk long miles with weight on your back, and the occasional, you know, quick action movement if you need to get somewhere quick to make a shot. So what I found that the best things to focus on are, you know, going. So here's what I do. So, and I have more motivation to do this because I have bird dogs that if I don't take them out, they are super crazy and they'll destroy the house, and I don't want that. So I make a point to get them out nonstop. But I do 3 to 5 miles every day, either before work or after work, and with the dogs, and I carry anywhere between 60 and 80 pounds on my back with my pack. Now, you don't have to start that high. You can start lower, like 20 pounds. So I do that every other day. And the days that I'm not hiking with my pack, I'm doing some kind of cardio training, like I'll go for mountain bike ride or something, or I do those like insanity videos, the high intensity interval training type stuff, just to get my cardio a little bit better. I just started incorporating that stuff. Question?
I'm on this phone.
All right. Anyways, so don't think that you have to go to the gym every single day and lift weights or anything like that. That's not going to get you where you need to be. You need to focus, because here's another thing too. You know, when you're carrying weight on your back, you're using, and you're hiking, especially in rough terrain with rocky terrain or muddy terrain or snowy terrain, you're using muscles in your legs that it's extremely hard to replicate in a gym in the first place. So you could work out legs at the gym every single day, and after one day of backcountry hunting, you'll be sore as can be. So actually getting out there and doing the activities that are similar to what you're going to be doing when you're hunting are going to be the most helpful. So I also incorporate like shooting into this. You know, if you have to run up a hill and then lay down and make a shot quick before the deer runs away, you know, you could replicate that. If you go to your local range, you know, you could run to the 100-yard line and back and lay down and put a timer on. You have to shoot within 5 seconds or 10 seconds or something like that. Those are different things I like to do as well. But don't get intimidated by the things you see on social media and all these people, like they're trying to be super fit to go out and try and kill a mule deer or an elk or something. It's not, being fit is important, but it's not like you need to be a star athlete to be successful. It goes back to your mindset. Now, one thing I will caveat: if you're not confident in your physical abilities, if you're intimidated by, you know, different mountain ranges, or, you know, how far back you have to go to find animals, you know, that goes back to your mental abilities. You need to get yourself confident in your in your shape to be able to do those things. All right, we got a question here. Do you think there's any value in the train to hunt things like that, maybe even as setting a baseline for your fitness? Yeah, so I've looked into some of that stuff. There's that Mountain Tough Fitness. They have different training programs. Built for the Hunt has different training programs. The Train to Hunt program does. There's nothing wrong with doing those, but I definitely think that it's not going to hurt you. It's definitely going to help you. But what all these training programs lack, in my opinion, whether they're in the gym or not in the gym, and I'm not super familiar with train to hunt, Torrin. So if there's things in that for that, then but hiking with a weighted pack, it's very hard to replicate in the gym or whatever. So you have to set time aside to do that, and it doesn't matter where you live on this earth. There's definitely ways to do that. I lived in Houston, Texas for a year where it was super flat, but I worked in a 72-story skyscraper. So after work every day, I would get my pack and walk the 72 floors up and down to try and maintain that aspect of it. So that's pretty much all I have on the physical abilities side of things. Any questions?
Hey, Brian, is there any helps with elevation or just going uphill other than just going uphill?
Sorry, you kind of cut out a little bit. Can you repeat that?
Is there anything that you think helps with elevation or just climbing as many hills as you can back home?
So you cut out again, but are you talking about like potential altitude sickness for elevation?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So
a mountain at 10,000 feet sucks really bad.
Right. So the two main things that I can stress, I haven't experienced mountain sickness, so it's hard for me to relate to it, but there's things that, you can do to alleviate it. Number one is acclimation. So if it's any way possible, if you get above 6,000 or 7,000 feet, and you can stay at that elevation for like a day, that really helps your body get acclimated to the elevation, and it should help you as you climb higher and higher. But if you do start getting and you start feeling those effects, drop 1,000 feet and stay there. That's my biggest advice. And then usually after that, if you're feeling okay, it should help you out quite a bit. The other thing too is just going back to that physical fitness. The better your cardio is, so that's why I started incorporating more cardio into my daily routines. The better your cardio is, the better you're gonna react to the less oxygen in the air. That's how I feel. Number three, there's supplements out there. I don't know how well they work. I can't fully speak to them, but I know Mountain Ops has a supplement that helps reduce symptoms of altitude sickness. But like I said, I've taken them before, but I've never fully experienced mountain sickness. So I can't speak to dealing with it while I'm on the mountain, if that makes sense. Another thing that's out there too, I see hikers, it's pretty popular in the hiking world, is those canned oxygen tubes. So if you start experiencing that, it's just like an aerosol can that you can spray into your mouth, and it's like a high level percentage of oxygen, and it helps you out. But I don't know how effective they are either.
Do you mind if I chime in here real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, one of the things that I had to do back in college for that kind of training when I ran track was when we would have a meet somewhere in another state that was going to be at a higher elevation, our training changed to kind of like that high intensity training. So you're already depleting the amount of oxygen that's in your red blood. So changing your regime to a more high intensity instead of just doing your basic standard hiking, increase it, or maybe do like a couple wind sprints, increase your oxygen intake, and then go on that hike can help alleviate that as well.
Yeah, that's where that high intensity interval training really comes in handy, and that's why I started doing more of that stuff. Good ad.
Yeah, and real quick too, not to sound simplistic about it, but nose breathing versus mouth breathing. I know it's not always the easiest thing to do, but your saturation levels are different when you're breathing through your nose. So that's a big deal.
100%.